Hey everybody, Brian Von VA. Got a simple quick question. When was the rule of cool enforced in your D&D campaign? Let us know about that in the comments below. My party, consisting of a fighter, paladin, and a druid, was preparing to face a vampire, so they were going through spell preparations and double-checking their inventory. So the paladin and druid came up with an idea. The spell, Create Water, uses water as a component, right? We don't ever use components since we have a spell focus. But what if the paladin uses the water in our water skin to create holy water, and then we use holy water as the component for create water? In theory, could we make it rain holy rain? Now I know that's not rules as written, but that's exactly what happened in my game. A player had spent gold from their character's own funds to buy a spell rot tattoo, Earth Tremor. The character had a growing tie to the earth element-based old god in my setting. Later, they encountered some harpies who were using a relic magic pylon to amplify the range of their song and lure ships into a trap. After defeating the harpies, the character wanted to smash the pylon so it could not be used again. He wanted to do this with the Earth Tremor. Now, rules as written, that shouldn't work, but with everything else coming together on theme, I said he felt something lending him power through the ground, and had the spell destroy the pylon dramatically. If he wants to use a consumable magic item to do a narratively cool thing with no real game impact, I'm not going to stop him. I used to work at a summer camp and I'd run a D&D night. It wasn't actually D&D, I'd just make little note cards for the kids which said things like, "You are Artorius the Paladin. You serve the god of justice Tyr and have sworn an oath to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Your greatest attributes are strength and constitution, and your weakest are your intelligence and dexterity." That's actually quite clever, I respect that. Then I'd run campers through a quick one-shot, and anytime they'd try something, I'd have them roll a d20 and make up a result based on the success or failure. One time, 2 campers spent the whole time arguing. Nothing terrible, but they'd always want to do different things, or try to tell each other what to do in combat. But they both got really into fighting the final boss and were really excited when they started winning. They described doing a combo attack where they linked elbows and spun around with their swords out. It was so cute and funny, and I was so happy to see them finally getting along that I told them, "Don't even bother rolling. You defeated the ogre. Describe how you slay the monster." The PCs were exploring a mountainous area. I had lots of cliffs, switchback paths, and other nastiness planned for them. Well, they had some ideas of their own. Rogues scouting had discovered a large ogre the party was chary of fighting. It was just too tough. So they retreated down the trail a ways and set an ambush near some briarthorn and boulders. The players conferred, wrote something on an index card, and put it face down on the table. I gave them my patented slit-eyed glare of DM malice, trademarked, but then just let it go. Then, the rogue lures the ogre to the designated spot. Fighter holds the creature at bay with a spear. Ranger throws a lasso over it, makes a good roll too, and the barbarian pushes the boulder over the side of the cliff. "You what?" "I turn over the card." I turn over the card and it reads, "We have tied one end of the ranger's lasso to the boulder." I was shocked and delighted and described the ogre being dragged through the thorns and over the cliff, his fall and pumpkin-like splatting on the ground below to them in vivid detail. Well done, heroes. My most recent example of this was when a fighter I'm DMing for wanted to use a cube of force to create a Thunderdome match between himself and the biggest enemy the group was fighting while the rest of the party fought everything else. The creature normally wouldn't have been able to fit inside the box at all, but I opted to give it a dexterity save to escape instead, which it failed, and then allowed the Thunderdome match to commence. The fighter, unbelievably actually, eventually won the 1v1, thanks to some help from an ally's lingering synaptic static that the creature just couldn't shake. I'll cut a chunk of an enemy's health off behind the screen if a player gets in a sweet attack and the fight is heading that direction anyway. Much better than the sort of, "Oh, you slice his neck really badly, but oh no, he's still fighting!" even though his jugular's bleeding. Oh god, it's blood everywhere. Now, bonus points if the players deliver a one-liner before rolling the attack. I'll reward the boldness. But of course, by the way, I'll punish the overconfidence if the roll doesn't go their way. It was not cool, but funny. The Divine Soul Sorcerer decided to use Thaumaturgy to close the door on an enemy's face to knock them out. It was hilarious. I was running a game in a modern setting. The players were in a car chase running from some Yakuza members. Their getaway car was the Paladin's Find Steed. The Shadar Kai rogue asked if he could teleport into one of the cars. There wasn't enough room in the car for him, but I allowed it and gave him advantage on his next attack because it was cool as hell. He immediately one-shot the driver. Over the next round, the car started to veer and tumble. An acrobatics check later, and he teleported back into the party's car. Bonus cool, by the way, the druid used spiked growth as a spike trap for some of the pursuing cars. I just had a dragon mass suggestion the party to get as far away from my treasure as you can. My player passed an Arcana reaction and knew what the spell was and what it did. He read the part that says, the spell ends when the subject finishes what it was asked to do. And he could fly, so he flies up to the ceiling and says, this is as far as I can go, so... Now, he didn't expect me to accept that, but I realized I didn't want him just flying into the ceiling every round. So, through the magic of, neither me nor the 5th edition designers used our words well, I said, you know what? You got as far away as you could. The weave is stupid. The spell on you breaks. He felt clever and the fight was more dynamic. Overall, pretty cool. I had prepared a combat encounter I thought that had some interesting mechanics, but I made the halfling mad scientist kind of a gullible guy. With good deception rolls, they managed to convince him that they worked for the big bad evil guy, which was his current boss, as inspectors. They checked the whole lab, told him that it was to be relocated, and every prisoner moved out beforehand. After freeing everyone, they came back to escort the halfling, which halfway through the trip, they just knocked unconscious for later interrogation. Honestly, I wasn't even mad. I loved that whole sequence. I have a player who has a sword that can tear open a portal to the plane of dreams when he chooses. He got swallowed by a massive lava worm in the plane of fire. I let him tear open a portal while inside the creature to basically tear a massive hole in the creature, killing it. The players already had the fight in the bag before he got swallowed. Now, we talked about it after the fight, and I told him that it was a rule of cool situation, but if later in the campaign something bigger and badder swallows him, and he opens up a portal inside the creature, probably won't be the same result, mainly so that there isn't some insta-kill mechanic on massive creatures, as honestly, that's half the fun of running them for me as a DM. So there was this dragon that the PCs were hunting, and it flew overhead towards its lair. A PC chucked his dagger up at it, just as a humorous, futile gesture, but then he rolled a natural 20. So I was like, you know what? The dagger perfectly pierces a critical spot at the base of the wing, and the dragon tumbles to the ground. He started combat with hefty fall damage. A player in my Curse of Strahd campaign was looking at Isaac's dead corpse, and then got an idea about his demon arm. Somehow, some way, she was going to steal this arm and use it. So, in a split-second decision, I decided that the medicine check to examine the arm revealed that it had been grafted onto the body. And in that same moment, I decided that the abbot was the person behind such grafting. I threw in some rumors, and now she's walking around with the hacked-off limb of a demon and taking it to Krizek to find the grafter. I also decided I'm going to put the demon's other limbs around Barovia and turn it into a sort of Inuyasha-esque demon shard situation, where they can collect and graft all the limbs onto their body if they want, or Frankenstein a demon back together. The module wasn't written that way at all, but I wasn't about to shoot down her dream of stealing a dude's demon arm for herself. I was playing through a chapter of Keys from the Golden Vault, but had tweaked a few of the encounters to fit the 3-person party. Each encounter would have been a manageable, but challenging encounter for them. Well, the problem is the party split into 3 separate groups, 1 each, and each one triggered an encounter. Now, they managed to get through them, but when they regrouped, one of the players triggered a trap that charmed him, and he was poised to wipe out of the rest of the party. So I gave them a mulligan and let the charm effect expire, and let them take a short rest in enemy-infested territory. They had planned to totally clear the area, but after that, they did the bare minimum and got the hell out. My players, level 13, were fighting the campaign's end boss inside a giant temple-like building with large columns. One of the monster's attacks destroyed one of those columns, so the party had an insane idea when seeing the boss losing balance for a turn. First, the party's barbarian wanted to pick up a large piece of the column and hit the boss's legs using that. Then the warlock asked, "Can I blast them up to the monster's head using my eldritch blast?" To which the wizard offered to cast Featherfall to reduce the barbarian's weight. So they asked me if they could synchronize their turns to perform a combo move, which I usually don't allow, but I just couldn't pass up that opportunity. The boss got smacked across the room by a huge piece of temple column and proceeded to its second phase soon afterwards. All of this was incredibly not raw, rules as written, but it still is one of my and my players' favorite moments ever. Ever since then, I try to favor rule of cool as long as it stays within realms of possibility, as it encourages creative use of game mechanics. I just love it so much. The cleric in my campaign has used divine intervention several times with no success. However, I always try to give him something. For example, he asked for advice on where to go, failed his roll, but still felt a small breeze and saw some leaves blowing in a certain direction. Another time he asked for help, and all he received was a sense of a shrug, as if his god was saying, "What do you want me to do? You don't need me for this. You have everything you need." I'm still waiting for him to succeed because I have something big planned for it. The party's keep got targeted by Meteor Swarm. To defend it, the wizard cast reverse gravity on one of the meteors. The paladin leaped into the air and sliced one into quarters, and the other paladin and the blood hunter destroyed the third meteor, leaving only one to crash. The meteor should have landed instantly, but where's the fun in that? Hey everybody, Brian Von VA back at it again, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like. Yeah, push that little like button right down there. It helps out the algorithm gods. Subscribe and leave a comment down below after turning on the bell, because notifications are important these days. So you, yes you listening in right now, get to hear exactly when we have a brand new video. That said, tell us all about the rule of cool that you enforced in D&D in the comments. We want to know, we need to know. We love you all. Be safe and stay cool out there, everybody.